In this week's video, we're going to be talking about tips and gratuities and how they affect your taxes. If you work in the service industry, it is crucial for you to understand these implications. Watch until the end of the video as we break everything down. Now let's get started. Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Irene and I'm a CPA here in Canada. I post videos explaining important accounting and tax concepts using simple English to help the everyday Canadian better understand accounting and taxes. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button for more. Let's start with definitions. So in Canada, tips are the additional amounts that are voluntarily given by the customers to the service industry employees, while gratuities are amounts provided by the employers, such as a part of the service charge. Oftentimes, tips and gratuities, these words are used interchangeably. So whether you receive cash tips, credit card tips, or participate in tip outs, these are all considered taxable income in the eyes of the CRA, Canada Revenue Agency. So it's really important to report these accurately. The CRA classifies tip and gratuities into two main categories. One is control tips and the other is direct tips. Now let's start with control tips first. Control tips are the tips in which the employer controls and possesses, and then they distribute out to the employees. So for example, control tips are when the employer will set a service charge on the bill automatically to cover tips, or the employer will set a certain percentage on the bill to cover the tips. Alternatively, control tips also include when tips are distributed to employees based on a tip sharing formula determined by the employer. In these cases, control tips are considered as part of the employee's total remuneration. Since the employer is considered to have paid these amounts to the employee, the CPP contributions and EI premiums need to be deducted as source, provided that the employee is subject to CPP and EI. On the other hand, we have direct tips. Direct tips are the tips that the customers leave directly for the service employee, and the employer has no control over the tip amount or the tip distribution. Examples of direct tips can include when a customer leaves money on the table directly for the servers that do not need to give it to the house and they can keep for themselves, or when a guest gives a tip to the car attendant, bellhop, porter, etc. Unlike control tips, direct tips are not subject to CPP contributions or EI premiums. However, if you wish to make CPP contributions on these earnings, you will be able to once you fill a form CPT20. In the province of Quebec, there is an additional category called declared tips. See in the description box below for CRA's guidance on this topic. It's important to note that employees can receive both controlled and direct tips. In this instance, it is only the controlled tips that are considered part of an employee's pensionable and insurable income. Now that we've established that tips and gratuity is taxable income, you might be wondering, how do I report this on my income tax return? Well, first, it is your responsibility to keep track of all your tips and gratuities. I would suggest keeping track on an Excel spreadsheet or a Google spreadsheet with just like the date and the amount of tips that you received that day, and you'll be tracking it from January 1 to December 31st of any given tax year, okay? So here are some general guidelines. If you're an employee, the tips and gratuities, it might be on your T4 tax slip that your employer gives you at the end of the year. If you're not sure if your tips and gratuity is included in your T4 tax slip or not, you should definitely ask your employer to clarify. If the tips and gratuities are not included on your T4 tax slip, then it is your responsibility to report the tips and the gratuities received during the year on line 10400 of your personal income tax return. Line 10400 is for tips, gratuities, and occasional income that is earned that is not included in your T4 tax slips. I know that there is a common bias where people want to not report their cash tips so that they can avoid paying taxes, right? And so it's your responsibility to report this, and you are obligated to do so. If the CRA reassesses your tax return and you didn't declare all your, tips and gratuities, then you would have to pay what you owe, as well as potentially interest and penalties, etc. So I do want to shine some light on the benefits of reporting your tips and gratuity as a part of your income. So yes, although when you report tips and gratuities, it will be added to your taxable income, this added income can actually be advantageous when you are looking to get a loan or a mortgage. The reason being is that you will be showing higher income. Additionally, tips and gratuities are considered earned income for the purpose of, RRSP contributions. And so with higher earned income, you get to generate more RRSP contribution room, which in turn allows you to contribute more into your RRSP tax shelter accounts, and that allows you to deduct more RRSP contributions as well too on your tax return. Click over here to watch my video about RRSPs versus TFSAs so that you can learn more about these tax sheltered investment accounts. So to summarize, as an employer in Canada, it is important to understand your responsibility when it comes to tips, gratuities, as well as how the CPP contributions and the EI premiums come to play when it comes to tips and gratuities. If you're an employee, it's really important that you are reporting your tips and gratuities accurately on your personal income tax return, whether they are being shown on a T4 tax slip or if you have to report them separately on a separate line on your tax return. I'm going to link some Siri guidance web pages below in the description box for you to read more in detail. Thank you so much for making your way until the end of the video. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for more. Over here, YouTube thinks that you're really going to like this video, so I'll meet you there.